Ni hao. UFC returns to China for the first time in 5 years. Pretty good main event. Rest of the card, not so much. But as always, plenty of money to be made. Let's get into it. First fight of the night, we got Mingyang Zhang taking on Osman Diaz. So Zhang, he's 17-6. That is 1-0 in the UFC. He did also have a road to UFC fight that he also won. Diaz is 9-2. This will be his UFC debut. Zhang, he's won 10 in a row, all of them coming by finish. Diaz has won 7 of his last 8. His lone loss in that span did come to Joe Pyfer on Contender Series. Zhang, still just 26 years old. Ozzy will be 34 this week. I'm riding with Zhang here. Money line, minus 280. Gonna parlay it. I'll get to it. Dude, he's not been out of the first round on this 10-fight win streak. He's a fucking hammer. Diaz was just finished 3 fights ago. And if you want to get real technical here, Zhang does have the UFC experience. Granted, it's only 1 fight, but compared to none for Diaz, I'm riding with Zhang here. If you guys are looking for anything else to take, how about Zhang by finish? It's only a little off the top, minus 200. But all 17 of his pro wins have come by finish, and both of Diaz's career losses have come by finish. Zhang by KO is minus 130. You'd have to parlay it. 11 of his 17 wins have come by KO, and Diaz has been KO'd twice. And the under 2.5 rounds, you really got to parlay it. Minus 400. Zhang has hit it in 22 of his 23 pro fights, and Diaz has hit it in all 11 of his pro fights. That is 97% combined. Next fight of the night, we got Volkan Oezdemir taking on Carlos Ulberg. So Oezdemir is 20-7. That is 8-6 in the UFC. Ulberg is 10-1. That is 6-1 in the UFC. Oezdemir has won 3 of his last 5. Ulberg has won 6 straight, 5 of those coming by finish. Oezdemir, 35 years old. Ulberg just turned 34 years old. I'm taking the dog here, man. Volkan Oezdemir, moneyline, plus 250. In Ulberg's 7 UFC fights, he's only fought 1 top 15 guy, and he was number 15. Ozdemir's last 7 fights have come against top 15 guys, and he's gone 4-3 in that span. Not even a bad record against them. His only UFC losses have come to former champs, former title challengers, and the number 6 ranked light heavyweight. I mean, really not bad losses at all. Just feel like this is a disrespectful ass line. I'm taking the dog, Volkan Oezdemir, all day. Looking for anything else to take? Parlay piece over 1.5 rounds. It's minus 160. Ozdemir's hit it in 7 of his last 10, and Ulberg has hit it in 3 of his 7 UFC fights. You want plus money on it? Over 2.5 plus 110. Ozdemir's hit it in 3 of his last 5 and 6 of his last 10. Ulberg's only hit it twice in 7 UFC fights. And another prop I like, Ulberg by KO plus 140. 7 of his 10 pro wins have come by KO, including 4 of his last 5 wins. And Oezdemir has been KO'd before twice. Next fight of the night, we got Tong Wang taking on Gabriella Fernandes. So Tong is 6-0. That is 1-0 in the UFC. She also had a road to UFC fight before that. Fernandes is 9-3. She is 1-2 in the UFC. Tong is undefeated, so she's won 6 straight fights. Fernandes has won 3 of her last 5. Tong, 32 years old. Fernandes is 31 years old. Dude, I'm riding with Tong Wang here all day, minus 520. I don't even care about the price tag. Throwing it in a parlay. She's undefeated. She has looked like an absolute killer in her 2 Zuffa fights. This will technically kind of be a hometown fight. She is from China, and Fernandes just really has not impressed me at all in the UFC. Feel like this is a spotlight fight here for Tong Wang. So we're riding with her. Looking for anything else to take? How about Tong by finish? Plus 125. 4 of her 6 wins have come by finish, including her lone UFC win. Only caveat, Fernandes has never been finished before. Another prop I like is the over 2.5 rounds. It's minus 150, so you'd have to parlay it. Kong's only hit it twice in her 6 pro fights, but Fernandes has hit it in 8 of her 12 pro fights, including all 3 of her UFC fights. And last but not least, Tong by decision, minus 105. Only 2 of her 6 wins have come by decision, but all 3 of Fernandez's career losses have come by decision. Next fight of the night, we got Kenan Cong taking on Muslim Salikhov. So Cong, he's 22-8. that is 6-4 in the UFC. Salikhov is 20-5, that is 7-4 in the UFC. Cong has lost 3 of his last 5. Salikhov has also lost 3 of his last 5, but both of them are coming off of a win. Cong, 34 years old. Muslim, getting up there, 40 years old. I'm going to try and play it safe here. Take the over 1.5 rounds. It's the alt total, minus 250. Gonna parlay it. I'll get to it in a minute. Cong's hit it in 7 of his 10 UFC fights, and Salikhov has hit it in 9 of his 11 UFC fights. That is 76% combined. So I like that. If you guys are looking for anything else to take, Muslim Salikhov money line, I was considering minus 165. Cong doesn't have a win over anyone currently in the UFC. Salikhov has 2, including his last win over Ponzinibbio. 65% of his wins have come by KO, and Cong has been KO'd 4 times. So there's a clear path for Salikhov to get it done here. Speaking of the fight ending by KO, fight end by KO, plus 115. 9 of Cong's 22 pro wins have come by KO, including 3 of his 6 UFC wins. 13 of Salikhov's 20 pro wins have come by KO, and they've been KO'd 6 times combined. So that's definitely on the table. Another prop I like for this, you'd have to parlay it, is the over 2.5. It's minus 150. Cong has hit it in 6 of his 10 UFC fights, including 4 straight fights. And Salikhov has hit it in 5 of his 11 UFC fights, including 2 of his last 3 fights. Co-main event, we got Xionan taking on Tabatha Baby Shark Ricci. So Yan is 18-4 with 1 no contest. That is 8-3 in the UFC. Ricci is 11-2. That is 6-2 in the UFC. Yan has lost 3 of her last 5, but they came to 2 champions and the number 9 ranked strawweight, so not bad losses at all. Ricci has won 6 of her last 7. Yan, 35 years old. Tabatha, still just 29 years old. I'm going to take the over 2.5 rounds here. It's minus 425. I mentioned the parlay. I'm parlaying it with Zhang money line, Wang money line, and the over 1.5 in Cong Salikhov. That is plus 180 for that 4-leg parlay there. Jan's hit the over 2.5 in 9 of her 11 UFC fights, and Ricci has hit it in 6 of her 8 UFC fights. That is 79% combined of their UFC fights. So I like that to hit a lot. If you guys are looking for anything else, how about the dog, Tabatha Ricci, plus 175. She's only lost to the number 1 flyweight and a top 15 strawweight. Jan's getting older, coming off a one-sided loss to Wei Li. Maybe she comes out of this looking old. We don't know. Worth taking a shot on Tabatha here, in my opinion. Another prop I like is Yan by decision. It's minus 125, so you'd have to parlay it. But 9 of her 18 pro wins have come by decision, including 7 of her 8 UFC wins, and Ricci has a loss by decision before, including her last loss. Main event, best fight of the night by far. We got Petr Yan taking on Deiveson Figueiredo, 2 former champions going at it. Yan is 17-5. That is 9-4 in the UFC. Figgy Smalls is 24-3-1. That is 13-3-1 in the UFC, 10-3-1 at flyweight, and 3-0 at bantamweight. Yan has lost 3 of his last 5, but they've literally come to the last 3 champions, which is crazy. Figueiredo has won 4 of his last 5 and is undefeated since moving up to bantamweight. Yan, still just 31 years old. He seems a lot older. Figgy getting up there, 36 years old. I'm taking the dog here. I'm riding with Deiveson Figueiredo all day, plus 285. I just mentioned these guys are both former champs. Plus 285, that just seems absurd. In the last 5 years, Figgy's only lost to champions. He's a former champ himself. He's looked great at bantamweight so far. And how about Yan? 1 win in the last 3 years, and we're favoring him this much? I don't know. Seems crazy to me. But yeah, riding with Figgy on this all day. If you guys are looking for anything else to take, maybe you want to side with Yan, take him by decision, plus 125. 9 of his 17 pro wins have come by decision, including 5 of his 9 UFC wins, and Figgy has lost by decision before. Another prop I like, the over 2.5, minus 300. You got to parlay it. Jan's hit it in 9 of his last 10 fights, and Figgy has hit it in 4 of his last 5.
I'm worth 100,000 like Woodrow. When a ball, call me Wilson, going overboard at the Hilton.